Nintendo will more than likely make another Smash Bros. Game for the next Nintendo console because Smash Bros. Games do sell. We'll wonder if it'll just be like a port of Ultimate with extra characters, or will it be, of course, a new game right from the scratch. If it's a new game right from the scratch, it will likely, be a lot of the characters that will likely be in the game will likely be cut. They will likely be cut from the roster as well. Okay, yeah. And it'll likely be about a lot of characters that are likely gonna be that are not really liked that much by the fans. Characters that will be the least marketable. Characters that will be, of course, the least popular, the least marketable, and Nintendo will probably pick characters based off marketability and popularity. Of course, if Sakurai was developing, he'll probably try to keep every character he can, because Sakurai loves all the characters equally. But if it's Nintendo, which will most likely be Nintendo and Namco Bandai developing the game, they will likely choose characters to stay. And third party characters are a bit of a weird area because a lot of them are not owned by Nintendo, of course. And Nintendo might fall out with a company or so. But we're not talking about who will stay and who will be gone. We'll talk about that another day. We'll talk about characters that are likely for the next Smash game at this current moment. Of course, this is all just pure 100% speculation, obviously. And we'll be going over a couple of characters. Number one, it has been proven that Sakurai does listen to you guys. Yes, crybabies that, worship Crash every night or every day. Crash does have a chance of being in the next Smash Bros. Yep, he does. Considering that he listened to you, gave Sante a Mii costume, he listened to you and gave Emerald Sword to be in Smash Bros. It seems that, but again, this is likely Nintendo doing it. Sakurai actually does listen to the Smash community. I don't know if this new person, whoever will be in charge of the Super Smash Bros. Next Smash game, will really care who is in and who is not. Really, the most marketable characters. So characters like Steve will probably stay. But now I'll talk about likely characters. Who is likely? And the first character that is probably guaranteed to be in the next game is Dr. Eggman. Sonic only has one character, and Dr. Eggman is Sonic's main villain. Nintendo has been trying to add more and more villains. They added, of course, Sephiroth into the game. They added, of course, Bowser and all the, in King K. Rool. They add Ridley and all the other villains. But the biggest villain that is not in the game yet is Dr. Eggman. We have a lot of villains in the game already, but Dr. Eggman is one of the biggest villains that is not in the game yet. It makes no sense that Dr. Eggman is not in the game. And I was really disappointed that Dr. Eggman wasn't included as DLC or in the base roster. Why? That's because of how big Dr. Eggman is. He is the main villain of Sonic. I believe we'll have a couple of Sonic characters added. Because I think Nintendo realized, hey, why is Sonic all by himself? He should at least have some of his friends. I think the most likely character will be Dr. Eggman, and the other character will be Tails. And probably Shadow as an Echo, because they will probably continue the Echo trend. Tails has been there since Sonic 2, and it was basically going to be in the second Sonic movie as well, and is one of the more recognizable Sonic characters besides Dr. Eggman and Shadow the Hedgehog. Tails would also have a unique moveset and probably revolve around him being a mechanic in the Sonic series. And Dr. Eggman will basically ride around in his vehicles, like Bowser Jr. already does. So yeah, both of these characters are probably going almost guaranteed to be in the next Smash game. If they're not, then what the hell is wrong with Nintendo? That's my real question. What is wrong with Nintendo? The other character I think is almost all but guaranteed are the Octarines. Splatoon only has one character. Splatoon is extremely popular. Splatoon 2 sold like 12 to 14 million copies, and the series is growing, not shrinking. So, what Nintendo's gonna do is add the Octarines into Smash Bros. This is an extremely safe bet that is almost certain to happen. Why? Because it was an easy Echo Fighter, and they can also give the Octarines different guns and weapons that we also use in the Splatoon series. Make it, they don't even have to be Echoes. There's tons of weapons and guns and items that can be used in Splatoon instead of the standard ones that are already in there. And you can have a few, it can be like Ness and Lucas. They can be pseudo clones, like Mario and Luigi and Ness and Lucas, and Fox and Wolf, which are all pseudo clones. Another character that is surprisingly not been added is Waluigi. I think Waluigi is one of the most likely characters at this point. Nintendo cannot keep ignoring Waluigi for long. I know Waluigi was not a popular character back in the day. He was hated among Mario fans. But Waluigi's eventually around the 2011s gained a cult following. And that cult following grew and grew and grew. And by the time in Smash Ultimate, Waluigi was just as loved and accepted as every other Mario character. People will say, but Waluigi doesn't have his own game. So as in Piranha Plant or Daisy. So all you can really do is add more Mario characters, and I know Nintendo would want to do that. So Waluigi would be an easy addition to the Mario roster. It would be an easy bet safe. Oh yeah, to Nintendo, everybody likes Waluigi literally on the internet. Can you just please add him for one game? And Nintendo said it was like, fine, we'll add Waluigi for one Smash game. Okay, happy? Yep, happy. And yeah, Waluigi will likely be a playable fighter in the Smash game. Next Smash game. Very likely gonna happen. Next is Master Chief. Why Master Chief? Well, Master Chief was not really... I was surprised that Master Chief was not added into Smash Bros. But it's not surprising. They only had a certain amount of slots they can put as DLC. But Master Chief is Microsoft's main man. Okay, they added Steve, they added Banjo, and both of them are probably gonna stay. Especially Steve. But the main big man of Microsoft, which is Master Chief, is not in the game. And I think they're probably gonna save it for the next game. Why the next game? Well, they can't add I know they can just continue adding the Smash Ultimate, but I don't think Sakurai wants to continue making Smash Ultimate. So they're just gonna save them for the next game. And if Sakurai is not making the game, of course, Master Chief is probably gonna get in, because Microsoft says, okay, Sakurai was our only roadblock, so let's just put Master Chief in Smash Bros. And I know everybody into it will be excited. And I know, like, people say, but Master Chief isn't popular in Japan, but, Terry wasn't that popular. He still got in. Kaiuzo wasn't really that popular in America. So, why can't we have American characters that are not really popular in Japan? A Smash Bros. Character doesn't have to be relatively known in Japan to be in Smash Bros. And maybe it might put a boost for the Xbox consoles. You never know. But yeah, I think Master Chief being in Smash Bros. In the next Smash Bros. Game, regardless of who's developing it, is going to probably be very likely. Considering the fact that, Steve got into Smash Bros. And Banjo got into Smash Bros. The only logical next step is to add Master Chief. That's the only logical next step. Next character is Emmy from Metroid Dread. Metroid is starting to make a comeback, which was surprising considering that we thought it would be another F-Zero. But they released a remake of Metroid Samus Returns on the 3DS, and now they're releasing Metroid Dread on the Switch. And of course, whenever the hell Metroid Prime 4 is coming out. But I think, unless Metroid Prime 4 has some bonker, bombshell character, I think the safest bet for a new Metroid Dread rep would be Emmy from Metroid Dread. Metroid Dread will already been in people's heads for a couple of years by now. And it will be another safe bet for Nintendo to recruit. Unless, of course, Metroid Prime 4 has a bonkers characters that, is super huge. But I wouldn't be surprised if Emmy from Metroid Dread is added, especially if Metroid Dread is the most successful Metroid game in history. Then it would make a huge amount of sense to include Emmy from Metroid Dread into the game. If Metroid Dread is this extreme success. The next character in the game, of course, I think is one of the more likely characters in the game. I think I had to wait about. Please excuse me. Another character, I'm gonna wait until my brain starts working again, is a new Pokemon. We know there's gonna be a new Pokemon game. They always make new Pokemon games. It likely will not be a Gen 8 or a Gen 4 Pokemon, considering those will probably be long gone. It will probably be a Gen 9 Pokemon. Whatever is the most popular Pokemon from Generation 9 will probably be a playable fighter in the next Smash game. Why? Because of how big Gen 9 Pokemon is. There's always going to be a new Pokemon game every single game. The same thing can also apply to Fire Emblem. Both series are practically guaranteed a new rep either way. So, yep. Pokemon and Fire Emblem. We don't have to really talk about those series. But next is Animal Crossing. The next character the next character is the most iconic Animal Crossing character, of course, besides Isabelle, which is mostly among furries, and of course your main character is, of course, Tom Nook. Tom Nook, of course, he is the guy who is in every Animal Crossing game and sells you stuff and buys you stuff. Essentially, he is one of the bigger Animal Crossing games. He's even in the Villagers Final Smash. And people are like, he wouldn't work because he's in the Villagers Final Smash. Well, they did the same thing with Corn and Crom. So, and they were in the same fucking game, so they can just pull the same thing. And Tom Nook would also be another, and also would also revolve around money. And we all know Tom Nook costs money. So yeah, I think he would be a pretty good fit, considering the Animal, and especially, there's going to likely be a couple more Animal Crossing characters being added into the game. Likely reason is because the Animal Crossing New Horizons is huge success. Massive success. Animal Crossing New Horizons was a massive success. Animal Crossing New Horizons did not beat Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but it still sold 40 plus million copies. The only game, and Smash Bros. Being third. Yep, Smash Bros. Is third now. Only being behind Animal Crossing, only being behind Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And Nintendo would likely want to honor Animal Crossing New Horizons' success by, of course, throwing the series a new bone and adding a couple new characters to the roster. Now let's get to third-party characters, which is a muddy waters. Because we all know a lot of the more requested characters are third-party characters. But these are characters that have been seen on Nintendo platforms. The first character is Bomberman. I was saying, yeah, Bomberman is not going to be added. But the added My Assist Trophy and Konami is willing to put characters in Smash Bros. Again. Bomberman will mostly revolve around bombs. And Bomberman games have been mostly on Nintendo consoles. I don't really see Bomberman leaving Nintendo either. And Bomberman has always been there with Nintendo, unlike Castlevania. Yeah, has always been on Nintendo consoles. And yeah, it would make a lot of sense to include Bomberman into Super Smash Bros. Because it would make a lot of sense. Oh yeah, I forgot one first party character. That's of course Paper Mario. Paper Mario, of course, I think is probably going to be in the next Smash game too. Why? Just look at how big Paper Mario is. Paper Mario is massive. One of the biggest Mario spin-offs as well. But we're going to be done speculating first-party characters. There's a few other characters I think are a bit likely, like Banana Waddle Dee and F-Zero finally getting a second rep, and a couple of retro Nintendo characters being added in to pay homage to Nintendo's history. But now we talk about third-party characters. We already talked about one. Let's talk about a couple more third-party characters that will likely be in the next game. Third-party characters are much less likely than first-party characters. We already discussed Dr. Eggman and being in the game. We already discussed, of course, Konami possibly throwing a bone for Bomberman to be in Smash Bros. For Nintendo a bone for Bomberman, but another very popular character to be added. I didn't mention Zelda at all. The Skull Kid could also be on this list as well, but we don't want to be. We were talking about a ton of first-party characters and no reasonings. The second character is Shovel Knight. Of course, people are going to be like, what about Sante? Sante. I don't know why people request Sante. I just never understood why people want Sante in Smash Bros. So badly. I just don't understand. Considering that your games like Shovel Knight are much more popular, and Undertale especially. But I think the two most likely indie characters out of Shovel Knight and Sans. Sans, that's because the creator of Undertale and Nintendo have a pretty good relationship. Even Ray and the creator of Undertale make a song for Pokemon Sword and Shield, even though they didn't really have to, and adding Sans as a Mii costume in Smash Bros. Obviously, Sans was probably in the characters that were on the list to be added, but were never really added to begin with. We also did mention Master Chief. Okay, we did mention Skull Kid after this, but I think indie characters are going to be a much more prevalent thing on the roster. Steve was the first indie character to be added. I know people like to dispute that Steve is not an indie game, but Minecraft did start out as an indie game. It did. And I think it's just pretty obvious at this point, Nintendo's going to be adding more indie characters into the game. And Yacht Club Games is one of the first companies that really reached out to Nintendo and said add Shovel Knight to the game. And Nintendo said no, we don't want to add you right now. You could be a assist trophy for now. So Shovel Knight could likely be added as a playable fighter in the next Smash Bros. Game, which will likely increase the popularity of the series. And then of course, Sans. Yep, Sans. Of course, I could say Frisk. Oh, Frisk is the main character. Blah 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 blah. But really, we all know it's gonna be Sans gonna be added. They added him as a Mii costume. They added him in as a Mii costume, and no one was expecting Sans to be added as a Mii costume. No one was expecting Sans to be added as a Mii costume and as a playable character. Not a playable character, but a Mii costume at the very least. Which they did. And I know people like, really? Sans? But yeah, Sans and Undertale is very popular on the internet. I don't know if Deltarune is a sequel to Undertale or something, but it is related to Undertale. And Sans seems pretty likely at this point to be as a playable character. I think Sans is more likely than Sante, who is very much requested by the Smash community. If you know what happened to the Smash community in the past 2 years, I'm not too surprised that they want Sante so badly. They want her because of her body. Okay, I think I pissed off every Sante fan on the face of the planet. Now let's go back to first-party characters. Springman. Yep. He's gonna probably be added. He is basically like the mascot of ARMS. I think, unless Nintendo just wants to give up on ARMS because it's a big failure, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get an ARMS 2. Yeah, an ARMS 2. Like, we really want an ARMS 2. But they likely will make an ARMS 2. And I don't think most people would really be angry, maybe except for me, because I don't really like ARMS. But I think that Springman is probably pretty likely. Is pretty likely gonna happen as well. So, yeah. The next character that I think is pretty likely to be added into the game is Skull Kid. Okay, it has been proven that Nintendo listens to fans. I think the Skull Kid thing was too late because Sakurai, Nintendo, and the Smash team already decided who was the characters and who was not. But I think Nintendo will probably listen and add more Zelda characters. Other characters could be the champions from Breath of the Wild, but Skull Kid is just such a beloved and villain that, I think that he could be in the game. And a lot of people really like him as well as a character, so he'll probably be added more than likely as well. Now let's get back to third-party characters. Yeah. The next character is Rayman. What about Crash Bandicoot? Well, I don't really think Crash Bandicoot or any Activision characters are even likely for the next game. I said they could possibly add a character from Overwatch and Crash Bandicoot in the next game, but I'm pulling back on that prediction. Why? The recent controversies of Activision. But Ubisoft has always been friends with Nintendo. I know they could, of course, add the guys from Assassin's Creed, but they had a couple of Mii costumes added into Smash Ultimate, but they never really stepped forward to add a character to the game, which was kind of odd. But I think they'll probably add Rayman just because he's the most requested, and maybe later down the line they'll probably add the guy from Assassin's Creed as a full-on playable character, probably Ezio from Assassin's Creed 2, considering he's the most popular character from that whole series. And yeah, the last character we'll be discussing is Monster Hunter. Yeah, Monster Hunter is probably a shoo-in at this point for the next game. People were surprised that he didn't make it in as a DLC spot, considering how Monster Hunter is huge on Nintendo consoles, and has always been on Nintendo consoles for a while. It made no sense that he wasn't in the game. I think they'll probably pick, though of course other picks Capcom could pick, like Dr. Wily, of course Phoenix Wright, and Resident Evil characters, and of course Dante as well. But I think the character they'll probably pick is probably Monster Hunter. And probably another Street Fighter rep as well, which is gonna probably be a new Capcom characters. And I wouldn't be surprised if every company that includes a new character, even Square Enix, and it won't be Xeno. It will probably just be another popular Final Fantasy character, probably from Final Fantasy VII, considering that's all they want to put in. Square Enix does. And maybe Sante may have a chance. You never know. I did say the most recent DLC character would never happen. So, maybe anyone can be in Smash. So yes, Sante fans, you can still continue dreaming that she can be in Smash and not be excluded because of her design. And maybe Nintendo might throw a bone to anime and put Goku in Smash Bros. Or put Doomguy, Sub-Zero, or anyone could be in Smash if Nintendo really wanted to. Unless Nintendo still follows with the no non-gaming characters rule as well. So yeah, there we go about this video. Goodbye.